on to our next speaker, or we're going to move on to go to Kenya now. I think Samuel can hear us now, and he will talk to us. I think we heard that SACCOs in Kenya are one of the fastest growing sectors in the world. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to tell us about some of the reasons behind the success of the SACCO that he works for in Kenya. He's the acting general manager of the Law Society of Kenya, SACCO. Welcome, Samuel.
Jabo, how is everyone? Thank you for giving me this opportunity to do a presentation. Briefly, I'm an accountant, but additionally, I'm a trained IT expert and also microfinance and finance. At the moment, I'm the acting general manager of the Law Society of Kenya, SACCO. Basically, it's a SACCO for advocates, that's the legal practitioners in the entire country of Kenya. We have a head office in Nairobi, and that's where we operate from. Go back, have around 15 years in experience in cooperative movement, the SACCOs and microfinance. My first job was credit officer in a microfinance, which I worked for about 2 years in southwest of Kenya. And then for 9 years, I worked for the Kenya Medical Association SACCO. That's a SACCO for medical doctors. And for the last 5 years, I've been working for a Law Society of Kenya SACCO. And from experience, what I've learned, it's always try to empower women, because when you empower women, you empower the whole community. Because you give a woman a loan, you are 100% sure that the entire money or 100% will reach home. But men, we have some weakness. You get a loan, maybe you reach home with 80%, while some even reach home with less than even 50%. Now, to start my presentation, this current SACCO that I'm working for was established in 1986 by the Law Society of Kenya. You realize in Kenya, the cooperative movement is normally is well established, if I can say, in a way that you get most institutions, associations, they will come together to form a financial wing of their welfare. In a way that, because you understand the banks, when you go there, for example, you want credit, it's not very easy. The appraisal, the credit score is not simple. So that's one of the major reasons whereby you get most institutions, employers, associations, groups, they form SACCOs so that they have their own rules that will govern, and they pull together resources in a way that they create a pool whereby if today, not all of us can want funds at once. So you pull resources together, and then the people now who want to borrow can borrow. Now we have around 9,000 members, of which about 5,000 are men, 4,300 are women. And the SACCO is for advocates, both men and women, but we have extended that to include the spouses, the primary members, that's what spouses for advocates, and also employees of the law firms and children of the lawyers who are 18 years and above, they can join the SACCO. Why did the lawyers form a SACCO? I think there are three things, maybe I can say around 6 reasons. Number one, you'll get that most banks considered advocates or lawyers as business people. So they didn't have a regular income. So their income normally to practice is erratic. So it was not easy for them to get credit from banks. So that's one of the reasons they had to form their own SACCO, so that they could, instead of banking, taking their money to the bank, they could put the money together and maybe borrow. Number two is to financially empower the advocates, the lawyers, in a way that they encourage the behavior or the behavior of saving, so that people are able to save, the culture of saving. Number three is for investment. You get maybe people have money and they have nowhere to invest. And if you are to invest, for example, you buy land, land takes time to appreciate. But if you have to put it in a SACCO, the returns are normally there annually, you get dividends. So it's a way that encourage people to save and maybe invest. Number four, to get cheap credit, because you understand in SACCOs in Kenya, the rules, the interest rates, the rules, they are set by members. So for example, where we are, we normally give loans at 12% per annum, and it's on a reducing balance. So that's 1% per month. So you get a loan of 1 million Kenya shillings. That's about it's around $10,000. You repay with an interest rate of 1% per month. Number five is they wanted to manage, because the financial sector is normally managed through the central bank, but the SACCO is the members who normally manage the SACCO. And the last point is the government. Our government, it's normally encouraging the cooperative movement. And that's why you find most people will want to form one, because that's where they can get help. The main activities of our SACCO is recruit members, and they recruit members, and then they buy shares. Now shares is the ownership of each member. Each member is supposed to have a minimum share. Currently, LSK SACCO minimum share is 30,000 Kenya shillings per member, the minimum. But you can own as much as you want. That's about $300 US. And normally, shares are not refundable. So if you buy shares, you are a permanent owner, you can only transfer that ownership to somebody else, to a new person, or you sell it to a fellow member. We also receive savings from members on a monthly basis. And that's normally now how we gauge somebody's activities, how they are able to save, so that when now they come for loans, you have to be you save on constant monthly, a regular saver for you to qualify for a loan. Number three, we give loans to members. At the moment, our highest loan is 30 million Kenya shillings. That's about 300,000 US. And at the same rate of 12%. And we normally encourage members to guarantee each other in a way that we are trying to create a way where somebody wants to borrow money, rather than somebody borrowing money from me directly as a friend, a colleague. I will refer them to go to the SACCO where I'm a member, they are members, so that I can guarantee them. I can now say, if this person fails to pay, I'll stand in and pay the debt. And also we allow people to bring in collaterals, logbooks, title deeds, so that they can stand in as surety for the loan. And then the other thing we do is we also encourage people who don't need loans to save, that's members, because you'll get maybe the advocates who are well established, they don't need loans, but we try to encourage them to save so that they can go get good returns on their investment. So for example, in the year 2019, our dividends was 15% return on shares, and 9% return on deposits, which is a very good return, because you get somebody who has shares of 1 million, that person will get like 90,000. And most investment will not give you such a return. The other thing we do, number 5, is we normally educate our members. We normally have continuous trainings and education. We tell members what we have and how to invest the money, what opportunities are there. And this is normally a requirement by the Cooperative Ministry, the Republic of Kenya, that each SACCO is supposed to train its members. You empower them so that you don't give them money and then they don't make use of that money. And the other thing that we do is we do bookkeeping. Every money we receive from members, we account for it. Every transaction we do, we account for it. And in a way that if today from the comfort of my chair, I'm able to check what is my deposit in the SACCO, what is my savings, what is my loan, so that you disclose the information also to members so that you give them the confidence to continue bringing money in and savings. So as we speak here, about 9,000 members, we have about 2 billion Kenya shillings. That's the total money that people have saved. And the loans that we have given out is about 1.7 billion. So you can see we have about close to 400 million that we still is available for people to borrow. Now, our governance, the structure, you realize in Kenya, the cooperative movement is normally governed by the Ministry of Cooperative. So under the commissioner is the one who normally even registers SACCOs. They do the supervision, the regulation and everything. But before that, there is the members. Members are the supreme body of the SACCO. So annually, we are supposed to have an AGM whereby we normally give returns to our members. We present our books. We just account for what we did in the last 12 months. And from there, they normally elect the next board members, they elect the committee members, they elect the supervisory, they elect the auditors, and they elect a committee that we call supervisory, which is normally 3 members. So this supervisory committee is like an eye of the members, because all members cannot come to supervise the SACCO. So they normally have 3 representatives who will normally supervise and give feedback that the SACCO is being managed well. The management is working well, the committee, the board is working well. So it works close with the ministry and the members. They watch how the SACCO is being managed and how it's doing. Number 3, we have the board. That's a committee. Normally, in most SACCOs in Kenya, we get there 9 committee members, and they normally meet on a monthly basis. From that board, we have subcommittees. We have a credit committee. We have the executive. We have education. So from those committees, they normally coordinate various activities, member training, credit issuance, and the management, the daily operation of the SACCO. Then from the board, normally the board, they don't normally sit in the office. Their major work is policy makers. They guide the management and try to create policies and the regulations that the SACCO will follow. Then from there, we have now the management, basically the staff members. Management is normally headed by a CEO or a general manager. And basically, they oversee the daily operation of the SACCO. They make sure that the board policies, the regulation of the ministries are properly implemented and followed. And from there now, we're able to move now to doing our business. And then, of course, now there's the Commission of Cooperatives, where we are supposed to report on an annual basis. When our books are audited, they're normally registered there. You can't have an AGM before those books are registered with the Cooperative Ministry. You must, if you want, for example, to borrow money, you must request the Commission of Cooperative to approve that. So if you want, for example, to change the auditor, you must get an auditor who is registered by the Ministry of Cooperatives. And also, you want to invest, you want to buy land, you want to set a new office, it must be approved by the commissioner. So basically, that's the general governance of our SACCO. And the last thing I need to mention is that the potential risks that are there in the SACCO. And number 1, we're the business of giving money. So credit, what comes first, number 1 is the default. Of course, you will have people who will borrow and maybe the intention is not to pay. We normally on a daily basis encounter that, but we are trying to normally put strict measures so that you don't give money to people who you're not sure, or money that you cannot recover. Number two, the political situation, which normally keeps on changing in Kenya. For example, when there is some elections, you get that now the business community is affected, and many people will not be able, the cash flow has reduced, and so you get many people having difficulties in savings and paying. Number three, government policies. As you mentioned, that the SACCOs normally are governed by the government. So some of the regulations might not be very good for SACCOs, or some you want to invest, or you have seen a business opportunity that you want to use. It takes long to get an approval, and by the time it's approved, you get that that opportunity is already gone. Number four, fraud. Fraud is a financial institution, as I understand, SACCO. So there are people, maybe internal staff members, board members, and outsiders who want maybe to defraud the SACCO money. Anyway, so what we normally do is on a daily basis, we try to reduce those risks. The other thing is the natural pandemics. For example, right now we are experiencing COVID-19. Courts were closed from March. So, for example, in the last 3 months, our members have been seriously affected by this pandemic. Some are not able to practice, they're not able to get money. So you will get that maybe loans are not being paid, people are not saving, and in a way, our cash flows are being affected. And the other thing is competition from banks, because you get that traditionally people were depending on banks to get credit. But as the SACCO movement has been well established in Kenya, you get that maybe banks are coming, reducing rates, maybe at times because they're able to get funds cheaper rate. People are depositing money with them. They don't normally pay interest on depositors. So you get that they're able even to give the public loans at lower rates. And in that, maybe the SACCO might not be able to afford that. You get that your loans are slightly expensive. The other thing is there's also a risk in governance. If you don't get good management staff, good board members, good committee members, and the ministry officials, some things might go wrong, because if somebody is not good or doesn't have good intention for the SACCO, there's a way they can mess the management and the whole operation of the SACCO. And the last thing that we have identified as a risk in our SACCO is a failure to embrace information technology, because you realize that nowadays everything is just around IT. So what we have done, we are trying as much as we can on a daily basis to see how can we use the technology to be efficient and improve in our performance. Then I think my closing remarks will be SACCO is one of the best organizations in Kenya. Actually, I've seen it helping many members. I've seen people educating their children through SACCO. Right now, I know I have two advocates. One has a student actually in the UK and through the SACCO loan, and the one has a student in Japan through the SACCO loan. And for us, we try as much as we can. Our major business is marketing the SACCO, and try as much as to create awareness to advocate so that they could join the SACCO, because you realize the money that people take to the banks is the same money that other people go to borrow. So if we were to make the SACCOs and the credit unions more strong, bring more money there, I think we'll have a very strong institutions, which now will be able to develop the community, because that means many people can access cheap credit. Thank you so much.